with all the things that I've seen. I ain't ever seen no demons, no ghosts, no magic. Till now.
You get back inside.
Let me in, man. Some weird shit going on out here.
You keep dancing with the devil. One day he's gonna follow you home.
I think, what makes it, so satisfying and enjoyable, you know what I'm saying, to work with Coog would be, I think the comfort of it all, I think the trust, knowing that it's going to be, an enjoyable experience and I'm gonna get pushed, beyond my comfort zone. I mean, we're constantly always trying to grow, from project to project, throughout our lives and also throughout our professional career. So, the fact that, we get along so well, he's somebody that I've known for a really, really long time. When you're working with your friends, you never want to let them down for anything. He picks up the phone and calls and thinks about you for a certain, project, that's really, really personal to him, that means a lot to him, and he trusts you to deliver the message, to be that, be a part of that process. You take it seriously, and it means a lot.
I knew that we would need actors that had experience in some of these smaller roles, but also the film would need actors that would be discoveries in some of these roles specifically too. And once the screenplay was written, I kind of knew if there was an actor out there who could do the parts. I kind of had them in mind. And this was one of those movies where, for the most part, everybody said yes. I always wanted to work with Delroy. I always wanted to work with Omar. I've been wanting to work with Wunmi since I saw her. And then Jack O'Connell, man, I always loved, man. It's like his performance in Starred Up, it just blew me away. I always wanted to work with him since I saw that film. And then the other folks, man, that we found through the auditioning process, man, it was just fantastic. I mean, even a lot of the local actors in Louisiana were just incredible, man. And it wouldn't have worked without these performances.
In a word, it's been phenomenal, in as much as Ryan is incredibly respectful of actors and the acting process. Therefore, he listens. Opinions, points of view that people have, he listens to everybody. And certainly, he has listened to me throughout this process in a way that is extremely respectful and feels collaborative. He's worked with me to, wherever we can, flesh out some of those moments to ensure that my character, who is very, very dynamically introduced in the first half, that I don't get lost in the second half. So it's been very collaborative, deeply respectful, and I've had a very, very good time from that standpoint.
Ryan is fantastic. Ryan and his wife are total goals, couple goals, life goals. They're making this film together. It's a collaborative process. The great thing about Ryan is he's full of energy and he's young and he collaborates with you. You're always a part of crafting the character. You're always a part of the story. And he's very, very clear about where you are in the story for each scene, what just happened, what's about to happen, and getting your thoughts and encouraging that. So it's been a great experience. In the cast, there's not enough, superlatives to throw around because, man, we stumbled upon a really solid group of people. And I have to give Ryan credit for that. I have to give all the producers, Sev and Rebecca and Zinzi, all of them credit for that because this is a great group. And it's a great group because it's a really great mix. It's like a melange of veterans and new people, thespians and singers and pop stars and movie stars and, you know, all sorts of different walks of life in real life getting represented on screen as different walks of life to tell this wild, crazy tale of a story. I mean, the story is completely berserk. Miles is gonna break out. I think that Jayme Lawson's fantastic in it. Wunmi is great, Jack is great. You know what you're gonna get with Mike, and he even gives you a different wrinkle on this one because this isn't how the audience has ever seen him before. And so I'm pumped up. I'm happy to be a part of this one. I'm happy to have this one under my belt.
You know, working with Ryan has been, you know, incredible. I think he's a brilliant, you know, director. I feel like it's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to be able to execute it. And I just feel like, you know, once I got here and I got to see the set and the, you know, the cars, the locations, the different places, to see all of that stuff come together, it was, you know, really exciting to see. You know, he always looks out for everybody on set. You know, he makes sure everybody's good, and he really is a coach. You know, he'll get all of us in a circle and he'll, you know, give us the plan, and he'll tell us what the goal is that we all need to accomplish together, but then he'll also take everybody aside and, you know, tell us what we need to hear individually so that we can give the best performance.
I work more often than him, just at just pure months in a year, you know, turnaround from like acting and directing, you know. So I'll put a couple movies up a year, you know, at any given time. You know, he lives with a project for like 2, because he writes what, you know, what he directs, and there's you know, the process that, you know, post and editing, you know, all the way up to the movie comes out. So when he calls you, you pick up the phone. You know what I'm saying? And you really pay attention to what he's got to say and why he's, you know, because he's very intentional. You know what I'm saying? And he means what he says. You know, and he does what he says. You know what I'm saying? So when he hits you up, you know, I kind of you know, heard the pitch, and I was like, oh man, this is like different. And I was a little nervous at first, you know, because for me, it's probably be the most adventurous role that I played thus far. The process of kind of like going from one character to the next, like for me, it was a lot of, you know, music and catchphrases and things of that nature. A body position or a stance, you know, that I worked through to kind of establish the 2 of them, and, you know, locking into that, you know, day after day, you know, you start to create your own rhythm and routine. You know, Smoke wore his trauma differently. You know, he kind of closed up a bit. So, you know, Smoke is, you know, a man of few words. And that's what we kind of understood a lot amongst identical twins. You know, usually, you know, twin brothers that, you know, are around each other a lot, you know, one is more dominant in certain areas than the other. You know, if you're always with your brother and you know your brother usually does most of the talking, you naturally don't talk that much because, you know, your brother's taking care of most of that. So finding out those little details was a lot of fun and very informing on just the process. But, you know, Smoke, you know, had a heaviness to him that I kind of wore that took time to get off, you know, and Stack was a lot lighter. You know, he smiled through his pain, you know, he smiled through his trauma. He talked his way through it, you know, so he, you know, had a lot more things to do and say and to deflect, to not sit still and let those feelings and those traumas kind of catch up to him. So Stack was always kind of like, he's always on the move, always kind of fleeing from things. So yeah, the process as a whole was just experimental, but and by, you know, halfway through it, you know, it was a process and that we saw all the way to the end.
Finding our Sammy in the film would like it was a thing that would make or break the film. You know, you had to believe that this kid had the talent, you know, that would attract this type of attention that it does in the film, both in the community and supernaturally. We knew that was always gonna be the hardest thing. So that was the thing we got started on first. We were looking for Sammy before we had a script, and we looked everywhere, man. We read incredible actors and musicians from all over the world, man. We would get tapes from Paris, we get tapes from the continent. It was insane. You know, Miles sent in a tape from New York, and he was like in his basement or something with the lights out. You know what I mean? He didn't know what he didn't, you know, you know, you got a little bit of a glimpse of him and then you just heard that voice, you know, and it was instantly like, you know, you never forgot it. When you got time to read his pages, he was far and away the best of all of the folks. Even though he had never acted before, you could tell he was green, but it was green in a way that, like, you know, hey man, maybe we could do something, you know. So then we brought him out for a chemistry read with Mike B, and we brought Ludwig, our composer and executive producer on the film. We brought him to the chemistry read as well, so Ludwig could kind of fill him out in terms of his musical abilities and his ability with the guitar. He had to learn the guitar for the movie because he's a pianist. And yeah, man, he just continued to impress us. You know, he's very involved in the process early on. With this one, because it's about a guitar player, you know, and that's Ludwig's life. That's his, you know, that's the instrument that he first learned how to play. His father was a guitar teacher. You know, for this one, it was like, all right, we got to step it up to another level on this. You know, I need his involvement early and often. He's one of the founders of our company at Proximity, and so we had that working relationship there. So in this one, it's the first movie that he's an executive producer on. And you know, while I was finishing up the script, you know, I was able to take a trip out to Mississippi for the first time and go on a blues trail. And Ludwig was right there with me every step of the way. So my first time in Mississippi, I was there with him and with his dad, who was his guitar teacher coming up, and his dad idolizes you know, these blues musicians that came up at the time the film is set. And his dad is from Sweden, from Linköping, Sweden. You know what I mean? So like just being there on cotton plantations and seeing this you know, Swedish man in his 70s, you know, move to tears because he's in the place where the musicians that he idolized, you know, from thousands of miles away, their music changed his life, changed the trajectory of it. It was mind-boggling for me. You know what I mean? It kind of like made it all the more important to put the lens on these characters at this time.
It's a terrific thing when one gets the feeling that we're all moving in the same direction. And I feel that. Look, obviously, actors have different ways of working, but, you know, the analogy that I always make, I always use a train. And we're all on, it feels to me that we're all on the train going in the same direction. And that's rewarding. And that feels good. That feels really good. It's a great cast. And I have to say also a really good crew, which is a reflection of Ryan, as far as I'm concerned. You know, film is hierarchical, and it all kind of filters down from the director. And because he's very collaborative, and he's intent on presenting, he's intent, like as we all are, intent on getting things as right as they can be. And there's a lot of support in that regard for him, for the story. Great cast.
I got a call from my agent that said Ryan wanted to meet me. And so I went, and he said, would you mind reading? I was like, all right, if you need me to. And it'd been a minute since I had auditioned, and I went and auditioned because I really admired him, and I'm happy that I did that. Because he's just, man, he's a real cinephile. And in that, you can't sneak anything by him. As far as we sit on set most of the time, and the first AD has to grab him because he and I are talking movies, talking old movies, talking new movies. And so that's how it came my way. And it was super top secret. And so I read the sides, and then we went in, we had a meeting, spoke about it, and then they offered me the role, and I read the script, and I was like, yeah, sign me up. I've been singing, you know, since I was a kid, and when I turned 16, I got a call to sing background for her. And, you know, we opened up for Coldplay. We were on tour for the last 3 years, and I get a call from her one day, and she tells me, you know, I think there's this role that I think you should audition for. I sent in my audition video. A few weeks after that, I got a call back. I went to go do a chemistry read where I got to meet him and, you know, Ludwig and all these different people. And I felt like it went well. Then fast forward a few weeks later,
I'm at home, I'm waiting for the news, like what's happening? Did I get it? Did I not? And I think I was at the mall at the time or somewhere, and I get a call from a number from Oakland, California, and I pick it up. And I'm like, hello? He's like, Miles Caton? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is Ryan. I was like, what's up, Ryan? He's like, bro, you got the role. I was like, what? He said, yeah, you got the role. And I was in complete shock. And, he said, it's a lot of work we got to do, but, I believe in you. I think you're going to be great. And after that, I got straight to work.
Every day we left everything, on set, went home with nothing left to give daily, so we put everything into this after seeing the project and seeing how everything came together, because we're playing with a few different genres in this and tone, and it's a ride. It's definitely a ride.
The notion of playing a musician and the notion of investigating this human being, Delta Slim, who carries with him, I have a particular history, and certain things have happened in that history. And as a result, again, I don't want to give too much away, but I am navigating some events that have happened to me in my past that are very much having an impact on my present. And that interested me as an actor.
Well, I think there's a familiarity between Ryan and Michael now that makes their collaboration easier because the communication is there and it's set. I don't know what it was like when they were first starting together, but you can tell now if you're on set that these guys are friends and that there's a shorthand and they know each other's family, etc. I think that puts at ease both the leader as far as the director and the star as far as Michael. And with Michael playing twins, it's not easy. They have brand new technology in this, so there's stuff that we're doing. It's a difficult film to make. There's stuff that's happening here that you've never seen before in a movie. That's crazy. That's awesome to be a part of. And I think that with these guys, they're challenging themselves and they have a shorthand because of their familiarity that then in turn breeds an ease to communicate questions and solve problems and spark creativity and ideas because they're in an environment where they're comfortable with each other and they trust each other. It was such a big deal.
This film was just an incredible opportunity for me. And more than anything, I found it was an opportunity for me to write a love letter to cinema, to all of the things that I love about going to the movies and watching movies with an audience. That feeling that drove me to want to become a filmmaker, drove me to film school, drove me to want to learn how to create these things. And I'm incorporating all of the lessons that I've learned, over the last 4 films that I've written and directed, maximizing all the relationships that I formed with all of the folks that helped me make those movies. And I'm kind of just like, cashing it in, you know what I'm saying, on this picture. And at the same time, it's the first film that I've made, like since I think I've become like a fully formed person, you know what I mean? And kind of know who I am, you know what I mean? For the first time, I'm a dad, a husband, a business owner. And I've been through some things, and it's given me some perspective, but also I'm still curious about life and those questions are put into this film. So yeah, I think in many ways it's the most important movie I've ever made, and it's straight from me to audiences. Oftentimes I'll write scripts with actors in mind. I still did that on this one, but I also kind of had to take a step back and try to put the actor away as much as I could and just imagine the characters, And I think with this film that process kind of paid off because these performances from Michael are so much different from anything else that I've seen him do before.
Every character that one portrays on some level is a reflection of oneself. Now, let me be clear what I mean by that. If one, for instance, is playing an axe murderer, it doesn't mean that one goes out and starts killing people, or is connecting with one's potential to be an axe murderer. No, but certainly one is investigating one's own humanity and discovering, okay, what is it that I have inside of myself that connects to this person that I'm playing, this character. And so I wanted to, so I am giving myself over to this man, Delta Slim, and finding, okay, where are the parallels? Where are the areas of particular resonance and commonality between myself and Delta? And that process has involved, as it always does in whatever work that one is doing, an investigation of self, and then finding the connection between me and Delta. So I just wanted to dive in and find out what those areas were and are, and explore those things in service of the narrative.
Mike's doing a great job of playing the twins, because I think that when you see the film, you'll understand clearly that they're two distinct characters. And he's putting in a lot of work to make sure that they're distinct characters, that their line isn't blurred. Besides the fact of how all twins that you ever meet have a blurred line because they're so connected, you know, genomically. Character-wise, he's doing a wonderful job. And when you see how he plays both of them, it makes your character understand how to deal with each of them. You know, because one is more serious, one is more visceral, one is more jokey, one is more of a gambler, one's more of an intellectual. You know, it's a very interesting dynamic that Ryan has written and that Mike is performing.
Coming off a tour, I had picked up the guitar, you know, just randomly just started messing around with it. Little did I know that this opportunity would be right around the corner. And I started practicing, you know, once I got the call, and I just started, you know, going every day practicing. It was definitely a challenge, but I had some help by this guy. His name is Randy Bolin. He's a great guitarist, and you know, we went to the studio every day. He taught me like the fundamentals of, you know, the guitar, and taught me how to use the slide and everything like that. And so I'm just proud of what I was able to accomplish in that short amount of time.
You know, with Ludwig, our composer that's been, you know, our composer since Fruitville. He's known him since school, you know, since film school. And I haven't been on any set where we filmed to the actual music that was gonna be in the movie, you know? So the fact that I knew that this is a song that's gonna go on over here in this scene, this moment. Okay, when I'm doing X, Y, and Z, this is what we're gonna be listening to, and really being in the moment. I think that helped out tremendously, and I want people to feel that in their bones too, the musical element of it.
Yeah, working with Michael has been, you know, incredible. I think he's a great actor, and the way he was able to, you know, create the characters individually and make them different really made it easy for me to establish my relationship with each of them. Well, working with him as Smoke, he comes in, he's way more serious. You know, it's no joking, it's no, you know, no type of laughter. He's really serious when he walks into that character, and it kind of sets the tone for the whole scene. And then for Stack, it's like, it's light, you know, you can be happy, we can laugh, we can joke, we can really have a good time.
The opportunity to work with a very, very exciting filmmaker, you know, who's in my opinion, is in a very, very unique position. In as much as we all know, his films have been both commercially and critically acclaimed. And as a young man, you know, Ryan is not yet 40. As a young man, to be in that position is very, very particular and very special. But I responded to the opportunity to work with him because of what I saw in the script and what I believe his ethos as a filmmaker, as a storyteller is, which I find attractive. I think it's very healthy for the entertainment industry, and I wanted to be a part of being on this particular journey with him.
When I thought about it, and I was like, oh yeah, it has to be. You know, like these characters are larger than life, but also if a big sell of this movie is, you know, we're gonna show, you know, a generation of Americans that are often overlooked, that people feel uncomfortable talking about, people don't wanna spend time with, but to me, these people from this era are giants. You know what I mean? Like they towering figures. Musicians aside, just the people that endured, you know, that time to help us get to where we are now. So I was like, oh, it has to be shot in the most epic format. That's such a cinematic statement. When we got into it, man, we realized that just that decision, it put us on the forefront of a lot of things. It put us in rarefied air. And also, man, I love going to see movies in IMAX. And the film has such a specific look. And it's really because like nobody's really made a movie with a cast like this, you know, in a location like this with this format, you know. And Autumn and Hannah and Ruth, they have very specific ways of attacking their craft. It's just made for something extremely massive in scale, but also extremely bespoke and unique, which is, you know, what I'm all about as a maker of things, but also as a consumer, you know.
Oh yeah, that's the designer right here.
Y'all wrong for that. No, don't do me like that.